All right, so the Calgary Flames this time around, we're heading out west in the Canadian Pacific.
Flamajamas.
The Flamajamas. What is your take on the Calgary Flamas?
Well, kind of what I want Buffalo to do this year. They finished middle of the pack
Okay.
in the Pacific. 37 dubs, which is over 500 because they had 5 losses.
Yeah.
84 points.
Not
now,
great.
No, not great at all. They also had some inconsistency in net, but we'll get onto that a little bit later.
Man, they finished 11 points out of the wild card.
Yeah, it wasn't really close.
Jeez, it was not.
No. So, kind of some stats that stick out to me. Goal differential again, they were minus 30, which isn't terrible, but when you look at the stat that says the difference between playoffs and golfing in May is winning 1 game a month. So if you were to even go maybe I'd say +1 or even 0, they might not have made the playoffs in the wildcard spot, but that 11-point difference would have shrunken a lot.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Home games, they were kind of tough, which is kind of odd to see because a lot of the times teams do better at home than away. They went 17-20 at home, which
that's not great.
Again, if you can finish above 500,
yeah, that makes a big difference right there.
Yeah, and they did a little bit better on the road, which is odd again. They went 20-15.
And I mean, they're one of their main issues last year was production offensively. They finished in the bottom 5 in scoring, which I mean, when you're in the same ranks as the Buffaloes and the Arizonas, it's tough, especially a team like Calgary that they took such a big step forward when they first got Johnny Hockey, and they just looked so fast. They were playing like an unstoppable style of hockey, and now, a couple of years later, they're back in the dumps. I mean, 4 years they've been the definition of a team that's on and off. They finished with 97 points 4 years ago. Then they dropped down to 77, which was worse than last year. Oof. And then they went back up to 94. And back down to 84. What? So they're hot and cold every year. So if the trend continues that way, it should be a big jump in points this year.
Well, I know for us living in Canada, we want to see a little bit more Canadian teams make it. I can tell you right now, and I think we're both agreeing on this, Vancouver is not touching the playoffs.
No, they won't even smell it.
So I personally believe it's going to be Toronto, Calgary, and maybe Edmonton, but they're in the same division. So I don't know, maybe one of them squeaks in.
And you don't give any love to Winnipeg.
Oh shit! I forgot about the Jet boys.
Yeah. If anything, it's
they're just a shoe-in, right? So that's kind of why I didn't bring them up.
Okay.
I guess I could have left the Leafs out too because they're a shoe-in, but
don't jinx it.
I got to keep you on your toes.
Yeah, that's it.
Anyways, looking at player stats from last year, top scorer was Johnny Hockey, 84 points, which is pretty decent. It's up there in the league, right? I'd say top 20 guys, maybe. Yeah. Top one. But again, like you said, they had a little bit of trouble scoring last year, or even just being a little bit more consistent scoring. Monahan, most goals, 31.
Isn't it weird to you that the top scorer on the team in terms of points only had 24 goals? Like wouldn't you think that the team's top scorer, if he finishes 80 plus points, that he'd be a 30-goal scorer? It's kind of strange.
It is odd, and I think the main reason for Johnny Hockey finishing first in their team with 84 points is because Monahan had a bad year.
Okay.
I really think Monahan, with his 31 goals, if he can actually manage to get that up to 35 and maybe say 50 assists, he's number one right there.
And bro, Matthew Tkachuk had the same amount of goals as Gaudreau, and he played 12 games less.
Now, I guess it also is kind of depending on their position, maybe on power play. Like I know Goudreau is more the setup man; he's not the slinger.
Yeah.
And Kachuk is down low, right? I
Mm-hmm.
believe so. He's like a Van Riemsdyk, right? He's going to pop in 25, 30 goals a year. He's happy with that. But yeah, for Johnny Gaudreau, maybe he needs to shoot the puck a little bit more.
Yeah.
If he actually, you know what? He actually fired more shots on net than Monahan this last year.
Really?
Yeah. Monahan was just over 200, and Gaudreau was at 227.
That's an interesting stat.
Which is odd. Maybe, Monahan was just picking his time better.
Right, maybe.
But anyways, moving on down the list, like you said, we got Kachuk. Again, 24 goals, 25 assists, which I'm going to bring him up in the next category as well. But I think he needs to get his head out of his you-know-what and just play hockey.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I agree with that. He was a lot of penalties, he got suspended, didn't he, for stupid stuff, unnecessary stuff.
And we'll get in. We'll get in. Yeah. We gotta save some of this for the next segment. But top D, Dougie Hamilton, 17 goals, which is actually pretty good. It's not out of this world, but I think it's actually in the top 5.
Yeah, but they traded him away.
Yes, and they got younger, which we kind of brought up in the Anaheim series or segment. Good on them for maybe, you know what, right now they had Dougie Hamilton, but they maybe don't see themselves winning with him at the moment. Maybe they take a step backwards. First, they grow with Hanifin. They get him in their system. They show him what their playbook is like. They get him going. And I'm gonna say maybe 3 years. He's gonna be like an Ekblad.
Dougie
has. Pardon?
Dougie?
No, Noah Hanifin.
Noah, sorry. Okay.
Yeah. I find he has, when he gets in the zone, he has a bit of a mean streak to him.
Man, I actually really liked him.
Yeah.
I really thought that he was a good offensive defenseman when he played for the U.S. In the World Juniors.
Yeah.
And then he kind of fell off the map. I kind of just had no idea what he was up to in Carolina. Just fell off my radar completely.
I'm not gonna blame his performance on the management or coaching in Carolina. I seriously think he had no power play time. He was killing penalties, which is not his forte, right? He's an offensive, or he's an overall good offensive D-man and a sound defensive D-man, but he had no power play time.
Which is strange. I would have put him on my
which is strange for a guy that has a little bit more offensive upside to him.
Yeah.
But with Justin Falk there, they have their one guy.
They were pretty loaded. Yeah, they were loaded on D-man.
So hopefully he comes to Calgary. Maybe he gets a little bit more time with Giordano, who I believe is on their first line power play.
Giordano, he should be.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think he is.
He's getting older though. I don't know if they decide to put Hanifin in there this year. I mean, they might, because they're a 4-forward power play, aren't they?
Yep.
So
they have Kachuk, Monahan, Gaudreau, and now Neal. I'm gonna guess James Neal.
Yeah, and Giordano is gonna play on that first unit for sure.
Yeah.
Or even Brody.
I'm looking it up here online. They have him second line with DJ Brody.
Okay, yeah, because I probably I mean that makes sense. But yeah, at least he'd be getting special teams play. That'd be great. In terms of go ahead.
Just quickly, I find maybe he'll have a little bit more guidance in Calgary with his fellow D-man or D-men. In Carolina, there was Falk, but really, if that's the one guy that you have to kind of go off of, learning wise, he's not the greatest defensively. And for the most part, I don't think his numbers lie. He had a pretty shit year last
He
year.
did. He did. That's for
Um,
sure. Yeah.
so I think with Giordano, Brody, they got some good, even Travis Hamonic, they got some good young, I'd say younger guys that kind of make that core. And then you have him kind of in the middle. He'll be getting power play time.
Power play.
Yeah, he's going to plow everyone.
Yeah.
Power play time, penalty kill, and 5-on-5, obviously. So,
And I mean, look, if we look real quick, the Calgary, they lost Bartkowski on D, so
yeah.
Hanifin gets a bit more space
Mm-hmm.
there. In terms of the bigger names, Matt Stajan no longer on the team. Chris
No.
Stewart, Chris Versteeg no longer on the team. Jaromir Jagr, the big guy.
Which I'm sad about.
I'm sad too. He's out in Europe, right? I think.
Yeah. Yeah, he's still playing.
So I mean, yeah, we'll definitely check in on him during the season. Tanner Glass gone. Michael Furlan gone. I was kind of surprised by that.
Well,
I thought he was a big piece of their offensive production. Not necessarily production, but just size wise and like making
yeah.
an impact. I thought he was like a pretty instrumental part of their offense just by the way they work their system. But in terms of additions, they didn't really add any big bodies to replace him. They got Lindholm from in that trade with for Hamilton,
Yep.
right?
Who I think is a pretty steady guy.
Absolutely, and I
He'll
think
get you 40,
he
50
reminds me a
points
little
a game.
bit of a Raquel. He's a speedy guy, good hands. He just needs to make a bit more of an impact, maybe physically.
Okay.
Because right now I don't think he's known for using his body much. But they got James Neal who comes in and can do that, right? Like he can step in.
Yes.
Um,
Yep.
and Derek Ryan, he was on Carolina as well, wasn't he? I believe
Sorry, you cut out there for a sec.
Derek Ryan. I
Oh, okay.
think he
Right.
was maybe a centerman for Carolina.
Okay.
But anyway, he's just he's another piece that they've added. So I don't know, man. I look at their roster and I see, like I don't know how to word it. It's almost like like redundant changes. They added some big names. They let go some big names. They added some depth guys. They let go some depth guys. It's I think it's gonna break even. I have a feeling it's
Okay.
going to be kind of a break-even year. I do expect a slight increase in points and in performance and in offense, but I don't think that'll be because of the additions. I think it'll be because of just the change in dynamic that
Okay.
brings a bit more momentum to the roster and kind of if the guys can complement each other well and they can kind of find that team chemistry nice and early, then we might be in for a good season from them.
Okay. Cool. Uh, Make it or break it, bro. Who's your guy?
Okay, well, a guy that I don't think is going to be as good as he was in the past is James Neal. I think
Okay.
last year might have been a one-off. I mean, he was kind of just a part of that magical ride in Vegas, right? It was kind of
Mm-hmm.
like a big hype train where everybody overperformed and everybody was impressive. I do think he takes maybe a step back now. Getting older as well. He's on the older side of the spectrum, I would say, in the league. And in terms of a breakout player, I Lindholm from Carolina, dude,
Yep.
he was a pretty big piece of that Carolina roster, and I think that he kind of like it's like a sneaky win there for Calgary to be able to
Of
pull him in
course,
that
I'm with
trade.
you. To
And
not only get younger on the back end, but also to bring in a young guy in Lindholm,
exactly, and like
they won that.
the guy, if if I remember correctly, he didn't get that many points last year.
Okay.
Or he just hasn't been the most productive guy. But when you watch him play, there's something about him that's just it's impressive. And I do have a feeling that if he plays top line minutes, that he's going to be an impressive guy to watch. And they signed him for 6 years for all like just under 5 million a year. So
Yep.
sort of like a bargain core guy that's going to be there for a while. So I'm expecting big things from this guy for sure.
Good. Good. We brought him up earlier. My breakout guy, it has to be Kachuk.
Okay.
Now, he did great last year. I found scoring goals. He only had 25 assists, though, playing on the – I'm pretty sure he was top line with Gaudreau and Monahan. Sorry, buddy. I think you just have to be better. And I think the main reason for that is how much time you spend in the box. Whether it's actually just taking a penalty or fighting or getting thrown off the ice in matching penalties. Bro, if you could watch Marchand now and take a lesson from him, don't worry so much about what's said or what's done after the whistle. Worry more about it during the whistle.
Right, right.
So that's my guy. If he can, I'm actually kind of hoping he stays the same at 24 goals, but raises his offensive production and his assists, whether that's going into the corners and being the dirty guy, or just making a nice breakout pass and following up the rush. I'm looking for 40 assists, bro.
But what do you think of him playing on a second line now? Not playing with Johnny Hockey or Monahan.
I don't think it'll affect him that much. I think it'll actually maybe reduce the amount of load that those three guys carry. Now having James Neal on his line and playing with Backlund, who is I want to use the word average, but he is basically your go-to guy for everything. Plays a little bit of PP, plays a little bit of PK, and he's an overall sound guy in his own zone. Hopefully the addition of Neal and having Kachuk move to his line will up his points.
Yeah.
And hopefully maybe they can, because you never know, they might develop some chemistry that maybe wasn't there for Gaudreau, Monahan, and Kachuk.
Yeah, could be.
Okay.
So where do you see the team finishing overall this year?
Again, they're in probably the big shake-up division of the year. Mm-hmm. I see them battling out with LA and Edmonton for that wild card spot. I just feel like the Central is the toughest division in all of hockey. And I do believe it's either going to have, if not both wild cards there, it's going to have one, and they're going to be fighting tooth and nail to get that last spot in their own division. So, that being said,
I mean, I kind of see it that same way. If either division was guaranteed a wild card spot, then I would say that Calgary would have a very good chance of stealing that last spot from LA. Mm-hmm. I do think, I think I've even mentioned it in previous episodes, like Arizona, Edmonton. It wouldn't surprise me if one of them came out of nowhere and stole it. Mm-hmm. The fact that both wild cards could easily go to the Central makes me think that that Calgary is going to have a pretty exceptional year if they want to have an impact and make the postseason. I think them too, similarly to Buffalo. I think they're a year away again. They're missing a few pieces, but if they show signs of good chemistry right off the bat, then who knows? It could be good for them.
Okay.
Well, we'll see.
All right. So on to sponsors.
Oh my God.
This episode is brought to you by Milwaukee. They simply just bought out every other sponsor we had.
The whole state of Milwaukee? Is that a state?
No, Milwaukee Tools. Milwaukee Tools.
Milwaukee, is that a state? We're Canadian, dude. We're Canadian. Who cares?
Geography is not our.
It's a county in Wisconsin. Statistic? That's my bad. I should have known that.
Hey, it's all right.
But the whole county of Wisconsin is sponsoring us for this video.
So there you go, fellas. Take it or leave it. We're out of here.